Welcome to the Positive Sports Podcast. I'll be your host this afternoon, Ed Montana. Alongside me today in the virtual world, my brother Alex. Alex, how you doing?
What's up, Eddie? I'm doing great, man. We're into November. I get to do a bunch of shopping. I ain't got no job, so now I'm going to be like online looking for like the latest and greatest deals at like 2, 3 in the morning. It's fucking great.
The thought of shopping almost ruins the holidays for me.
Yeah, well, that's the beautiful thing about, technology, and you get to an Amazon and all that, and you get to do all the shopping online, bro.
Yeah, but even that, I don't like it, because like there's nothing that irritates me more than looking for something, finding it on Amazon, and then them telling me, "Oh yeah, we're not shipping that until February." It's like, bro, that does me no good.
Well, my
wife's going to divorce me by the time February rolls around.
Well, it'll be just in time for Valentine's Day, and then she'll get back with you.
I tell you what, I have done that. I have done that before where I bought something for Christmas, and then they send me a notice a couple of days later that the shipping's not going to happen until January. I'm like, file that away in the Valentine's Day gift department.
There you go. See? One less thing to do.
Thinking, always thinking. Speaking of thinking, I mean, I know what Justin Turner was thinking, but in a way, what was Justin Turner thinking, right? Like, so the Dodgers win the World Series on Tuesday, thanks to thanks to Mookie Betts. And, in the 8th inning or 9th inning, they pulled Justin Turner out because he's got COVID. They figure out he's got COVID. I don't know how they figure this out in the 8th inning, but whatever. They take him out. The Dodgers go on to win the game, and he comes out to celebrate. Now, hear me out. I don't have a problem with him celebrating. I get it. You've waited your whole career for this moment. I understand, go out and celebrate. But, dude, just put a mask on. Just help your fellow teammates out. I realize no one's got to go to work the next day, and they're all going to be hungover anyway. But at least wear the mask. At least just try not to get other people sick. And here, not even his teammates, right? Those are all young, healthy guys. But, Dave Roberts has a condition. Kenley Jansen has a condition. There's other old people. The guy that owns the Dodgers, or whatever that guy was, the one that talked for 20 minutes before we found out who the MVP was, that guy's old. I mean, come on, Justin Turner.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, I'm not the guy to say, hey, don't go out there and celebrate, because honestly, if that was me, I would fucking want to be out there too. But and the crazy part is he had a mask on at one point, and then he took it off and hid it underneath his red beard.
Right.
I'm like, you have it strapped on to your ears. You just use it.
Yeah, just use it. The only decision more confusing than that one was that of Kevin Cash taking out Blake Snell after 69 pitches in a dominant performance in the 5th inning.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, we were sitting at the bar, and I told you that the wheels are gonna fall off if he takes him out. And long and behold, he fucking took him out.
Yeah, it wasn't a Game 7 situation, but obviously for them it was an elimination game.
Yeah.
They were getting exactly what they wanted from him, right? They were getting a dominant performance. And look, I understand the analytics, and I understand that he hasn't gone real deep into games this year. But at that point, man, you just let it all hang out. We're talking about the World Series. We're not talking about trying to get the second wild card spot here. We're not talking about a game in July. This is Game 6 of the World Series. You got to go for it.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. And then on top of that, he was going to face their 8-9-1 hitter.
Well,
right?
It was the 9 hitter that got the hit. So he was coming up on 1, 2, 3, but there was one out, right? And that 1, 2, 3 that he was about to face, a combined 0 for 6 with 6 strikeouts up to that point in the game.
Right. So you have to leave in your best pitcher in that scenario. You leave your best pitcher to face the opponent's best hitters. Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
I mean, Snell had just. I mean, he had nasty stuff in game 2. Dodgers couldn't hit,
Yep.
and he was. I mean, he was dealing again in game 6. I didn't get that, man, and I feel real bad for Kevin Cash, but you just can't make a. I mean, baseball is one of those sports where you just have to go with the flow of the game. Like, if you've heard me many of times here on this podcast, I'm not with all the analytical bullshit. So that in that scenario, you got to throw that stuff out the window and just roll with what you have going on right now. And sometimes you got to manage the game,
Yeah.
manage the flow of the game, and not overthink it. There was just no reason to fucking take him out. And I think the rest of the world agreed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just can't take him out.
And to be honest, like, I'm an analytics guy. I'm all for the numbers. But you're right. At some point, you have to inject the human element and understand what you're seeing in front of you. And look, if he was shaky 1 or 2 innings, if his pitch count was getting up around 90, okay, I kind of understand it. Then you fall back on your analytics and say, okay, he's at 90 pitches, and this is the 3rd time around. Let's get him out of there. But I mean, what you're looking at is a masterpiece. I mean, if he makes it through the 5th, if he makes it through the 6th, I don't know how many innings he was going to go, but I mean, he very well could have pitched just 7 shutout innings. And, I mean, literally, I don't think he would have gone the whole way, but he was pitching a gem, an absolute gem at that point. He had the hitters very off balance. No one was hitting the ball hard. Even the hit that he gave up to start that inning or after 1 out wasn't a ball that was, roped somewhere. It was, it was lofted right behind second base. It just wasn't hit that hard, really. I mean, you got to give the guy more leeway. And look, what do we say a lot of times with pitchers and hitters, right? If you got a fastball pitcher and a fastball hitter, you don't tell your pitcher to start throwing curveballs, right? You challenge him with your best. If he beats you with your best, okay, tip of the cap to him, right? And I think it's the same thing here. Kevin Cash had to say, I think he should have said, this is my best. If you beat my best, well, you deserve to win, and I don't, right? But he takes him out. And then the other side that's not getting as much airtime is he went to Anderson, a guy who had given up a lot of runs in the last week or so, a guy who seemed like he was running out of gas. Just in general, he didn't have the same pop on his fastball in the last few games against the Dodgers, and he was getting touched up. So it's like, bring in someone else. I mean, you don't take out your best pitcher to bring in. I understand he was your best reliever during the season, but obviously, again, put the analytics aside. What have you seen lately? What is the trend? And the trend was the Dodgers were touching him up.
Yeah, unless Kevin Cash was going to bring in Tyler Glasnow, I mean, you fucking just leaving Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
That's that. Congratulations to you. You said Corey Seager would win the MVP, and Corey Seager won the MVP, and deservedly so. I think he had an awesome series. There were other guys that they talked about. Mookie Betts certainly had a great series. Clayton Kershaw had a great series. Muncy had a lot of clutch hits. But when you look back on it, I thought Corey Seager was the changing factor in that game, in that series. And the only guy that I thought might get it over Seager would have been Clayton Kershaw, a little bit because of his popularity and how good he is. Kind of like a sentimental pick, although he was very good as well. I'm not saying he wasn't. A bit of a sentimental pick, and the general love that we have for pitchers and how much credit we give them when things go well.
Yeah, if Seager wouldn't have won it, I mean, I would have guessed Kershaw as well. But good for Seager. He got to be interviewed by Rob Manfred, who sounded pretty drunk up there. I mean, I really wonder what he was drinking before that post game. I mean, he sounded very he sounded like he was feeling really good.
Yeah. And hats off to baseball. Aside from the hiccup with the Marlins and the Cardinals, they seem to learn from their mistakes along the way, and the playoffs went off without a hitch, except for Justin Turner. Hey, any idea what would have happened if that had to go to a Game 7? As far as scheduling, would they have? Do you think they would have played it the next day?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do, because they would have somehow miraculously been able to get like rapid testing, and if nobody else tested positive, then
I
yeah,
think they
they
would have.
play.
I think they would have played the next day regardless of any testing. And if anyone popped positive, they'd have just sat him down and look. No different than an injury, right? Those are the breaks.
I mean, I think the real question when it pertains to all that testing stuff is, did they really find out during the game that Justin Turner tested positive? And if they knew before the game, why didn't they just like delay the game a little bit or just not play him at all? Like, I don't get it. Like, did they receive did they get a call on their telephone, on their rotary in the dugout saying, hey, you need to pull Justin Turner?
The same phone they used to call the bullpen?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I don't understand that, like that's kind of fucked up. If they knew and he still played, and then they took him out once they got the lead, a comfortable lead, let's say 3-1, right? Because it was 3-1 when they pulled him.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of messed up if they let that happen.
The story goes that apparently he had tested inconclusive a couple of times. And so there was another test done right before the game or the day before this game, like on Monday. And that, when it made it through the lab, they didn't get the results until literally during the game. And then they had to run it through MLB. And then those channels of communication had to work and to eventually get it to the dugout. And that happened in the 8th inning.
Well, I think that's pretty poor by the part of baseball and the Dodgers. If it's inconclusive, then he probably shouldn't play because, well, we don't know.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But you can't do that, right? Because I get your point, but on the other side, there have been, according to some articles that I read, there have been several inconclusive tests, not just with the Dodgers, but with other teams in the playoffs that, a result came back inconclusive for some reason. They tested them again, negative. They tested them again, negative. And so, the inconclusive really didn't mean anything. So I don't know the science behind the test. How exactly do you end up with an inconclusive test? But if it's inconclusive, it's inconclusive. You can't disqualify a guy for being inconclusive, right? It's kind of like
disqualifying the guy. Yeah, but you're not disqualifying the guy. You're taking safety measures. I mean, you've gotten this far.
You're taking the guy out.
You've got baseball has gotten this far to Game 6 of the World Series. Okay, if you're not sure if someone is positive or not, then the right thing to do for safety measure, right? For everybody's sake, and like you mentioned earlier, for Dave Roberts' sake, for Kelly Jansen's sake, I mean, you just don't play him. You tell him stay at the hotel or something, or you just don't. I mean, that would be the right. If we're doing the right thing in society and today, then the right thing to do would be not to play him, not to expose everybody else just in case. I mean, I understand, but and then another thing. Yeah, but I mean, if he, I mean, you just can't have a guy around like that if you're not sure. Plain and simple. That's just my opinion on that, and
right.
Luckily it worked out because I think it could have been worse, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the counter argument to that, and I understand your point, but on the flip side, apparently they were testing him just about every day. So he's been negative, 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 and then all of a sudden it's an inconclusive, right? So that could be a fault of the test. And there have been a lot of tests that have been inconclusive, and then it turns out the person's negative, right? So I also understand the other side of it, that you can't take a guy out on an inconclusive test when he's been testing negative all along, right? It's kind of like the PED thing, right? If he's getting tested every day and he's negative, and then one day it's inconclusive, you got to test him again. You can't automatically say, well, you're suspended for PEDs on an inconclusive test, right? They go back and they test the other sample and blah, 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 right? They do confirmation testing to make sure that what they got is right. It's a very dicey situation. And quite frankly, what's very interesting about this is it's really a microcosm of what's going on in our country, right? This little instance of life in baseball, because it happens to be in the spotlight of the most important games of the season, and baseball being, one of the big major sports in this country, it's really a microcosm of what's going on in this country, right? With testing and getting results back. I mean, you and I both have been tested, and we both experienced different time frames of when we get results back and things like that. So it's, it's, I can see both sides of it. I am okay with if they tested him all along and he was negative, and then he popped inconclusive, and then they tested him again, and the channels of testing were such that they didn't find out until the 8th inning, and then they took him out, I'm okay with that. I understand that, and overall, I'm okay with it. Now, where it gets a little, not necessarily shady for me, but certainly brings questions to mind is, man, so he was inconclusive. They tested him again. Surely they would have fast-tracked that, right? Like, surely that would have gone to the lab faster. There would have been a heightened sense of urgency to get the communication back from the lab to MLB to the Dodgers, right? That's the part that to me seems a bit irresponsible and like, well, did we really find out in the 8th inning, or, did the Dodgers just not answer the phone?
Yeah, right.
Like they're calling the Dodgers left and right, and the Dodgers are like, MLB? That might be about Justin Turner. Ignore.
Right, yeah. Go straight to voicemail.
Yeah. All of a sudden, it's just one ring and, hello, you've reached the Los Angeles Dodgers. We're not available right now. Please leave your message at the tone. Beep.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, right? But,
yeah,
it's over with now.
Right.
I would have preferred if they would have baseball would have made the Dodgers forfeit that game so we can have a game 7. I mean, they could still go back and do it. We can have a game 7 right now.
Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't it be something if they found out that the Dodgers violated some kind of protocol, made them forfeit game 6 and come back now a week later? All you need to go back to Dallas and play game 7.
That would be awesome. I'll be all for that.
But Dodger fan would be having a stroke.
Oh, could you imagine?
Right?
Oh, Lord.
Make them forfeit a game. And the first thing they'd say, give us the 2017 World Series. Make the Astros forfeit that.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's all, like I said, it's all done and dusted. Hats off to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're the best team during the season. They deserve to win the World Series, whatever COVID shenanigans there may have been.
Yeah.
Speaking of all, I'll tell you what's not all done. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not done. Now, listen, let's get into football. Tell me, at 7-0, after beating a good Baltimore Ravens team on the road, right? That was in Baltimore. Am I right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
With no fans.
Regardless, they had to travel to Baltimore. Hey, look, you cannot call them pretenders anymore. They are contenders.
That was a very good win by the Steelers, but I am still calling them pretenders. They got outgained. Look, they lost because of turnovers. That's it. They got outgained in yardage and time of possession. They got outgained every category. So yes, I am still calling them pretenders.
Well, look, if you're calling them pretenders at 7-0, we have
Yes.
no contenders for the Super Bowl this year because they are the only undefeated team. We're talking about almost half a season, Alex. It's time you give them their due. They are contenders. They beat the team that was favored to win their division. They've played everyone that everyone on their schedule that's been put in front of them. They've beaten. They're 7-0 for a reason. That's a good football team. They find ways to win. Turnovers are part of the game, man. Penalties are part of the game. That's just the way it goes. It's time to tip your hat and say, hey, we got to look out for these guys. These guys could go all the way.
Nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not sold. I'm sorry. I mean,
who do they play next week?
I don't know. What's going to be interesting with the Steelers, they play. Oh, they're going to win. They play the Cowboys.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, look at the schedule, bro. They play the Cowboys, the Bengals, the Jaguars, and then the Ravens again. I mean, come on, man. Look.
They could be 10-0 going into that game.
The interesting thing with the Steelers is going to be, they had their bye week very early in the season. So, hopefully they don't, get any more injuries. That way, they can put their best team on the field, come playoff time and all that. But so that'll be interesting. It gets colder later on during the season and players just start to, getting injured, right? That's part of the game. But I'm not sold yet on the Steelers. Make it to the AFC Championship game, then I'll tip my hat.
Well, in that case, then you're saying there's only two contenders?
No, I'm just saying. I don't. Big Ben looked pretty shitty out there to me. I mean, he threw some fucking ugly ducks, man. I'm just not sold on the team. Plain and simple. I'm not tipping my hat yet. I don't care I don't care what their record is right now. We've seen plenty of teams in the past be 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, 11-0. And I don't think they won Super Bowls.
I see what you're doing here. I get it. You're setting yourself up to be right if they don't win the Super Bowl, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl. Because if they get knocked off in the AFC Championship game, you're going to say, see, I told you they were never Super Bowl contenders. But that's not true, because what we're looking at now when we're halfway through the season is who are the teams that could conceivably go all the way. And you got to look at the leaders of every division, and especially you got to look at the team that's right now going to get that one bye. That one bye is a big deal in the AFC and the NFC. And so, to me, they're contenders. I don't know how big your list of contenders is, but mine's got 4 teams on it, and the Steelers are definitely one of them.
Yeah, I'm not. No. Nope. You cannot sell me on the Steelers right this second.
Who are your other who are your AFC contenders for the Super Bowl?
AFC, I would say the Chiefs.
Okay.
Man, I don't know. I don't know who else. For the Super Bowl, I mean, Chiefs, and then we got close. We got a couple second tier teams that I'm maybe could sneak in there.
Obviously, your definition of contender is one team, since only one team will play in the Super Bowl from the AFC.
Well, that's it. I cannot include the Pittsburgh Steelers in that list.
That's funny. So, not impressed with the Bills at 6-2. Not impressed with Tennessee and Indianapolis is the quietest 5-2 team out there. And
I'm impressed with the Bills. The Titans, the Colts, but I don't know if they have, I kind of look at the quarterback situation. I don't see those teams really beating the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah, the Chiefs are good. To me, they're still the favorite to win the AFC. But, if they play head to head with the Steelers and it's in Pittsburgh, I think the Steelers win. If it's in Kansas City, I think Kansas City wins. I think they are on a collision course. But, even the Ravens, to me, those three teams are the best that the AFC has to offer. And you can't count out a team like Tennessee because they can run the football and they've got a good defense. So
yeah.
The Bills, I agree with you. I'm a little bit concerned about the quarterback play. Josh Allen has, it's just not looked great lately. So I'm a little bit concerned. They had to squeak out a win yesterday against the Patriots, who are not a good football team at this point.
But remember, kind of what I said last week, those division games are, again, you can have a team as good as the Bills play against the Patriots, who are not as good this season, and it's a close game. So it's just those division games sometimes are tricky.
So much familiarity, it makes it tough to really blow a team out.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Jets.
Yeah, unless it's the Jets.
The Jets can get blown out by –
the Jets are having a fire sale.
Huh?
I said the Jets are having a fire sale this season.
The Jets ought to find a way to opt out for the season.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're 0-8. Why not just give the next 8 games? Why not just give those teams wins? Let's face it.
Well, I'm sure the Jets would like to because they want to draft Trevor Lawrence at number 1.
He's got COVID, man. So. He's got COVID. Got to be careful.
Yeah, he'll still go number 1.
Yeah, it's he's not playing this weekend against Notre Dame, so that's going to be a big deal. That's going to be a good game anyway, though. What else you got going around the NFL?
Let's see. The Chargers found another way to lose. I mean, that team should be they're 2-5. They should be 5-2. They've lost games in the second half 4 times already, and it's a shame because Justin Herbert is throwing the ball pretty well.
He's playing good football.
Yeah, he's playing really good football.
29 of 43, 278 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's the line of a pretty damn good quarterback.
And their point differential is -6, and they're sitting in last place. That's not bad for the Chargers.
That's a team that you really have to be careful with because going down the stretch, teams are probably, they're gonna face the Chargers. They're gonna think they've got an easy win because, well, they're only 2-5, and they're gonna come up and bite them. I expect them to win a few more football games and really probably create some havoc for some teams that thought they had an easy ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I still kind of see the Raiders moving up in the seedings for some reason.
They beat the Browns, right?
They beat the Browns, right?
The Browns showed absolutely no offense.
Well, both teams. I mean, the score was 16-6 or some shit like that.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Baker Mayfield, 12 for 25, 122 yards. I mean, that's beyond bad.
I just can't see him being the quarterback of the Browns long term. For this season, maybe, but fuck, even next season. I mean,
yeah, but here's the thing: what are they going to do? They're 5-3, so they're on pace for a 10-6 season. A 10-6 season is not going to get them a very high draft pick. So unless they trade out the farm and move up, chances are he's going to be their quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, projections are 10-6, but I mean, do we really think the Browns are a 10-6 team? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? They're probably not.
No, but
and you're
remember,
gonna have
they get to play the NFC East. That's 4 wins right there.
uh,
You're
uh,
asking them to go
I
6
wouldn't
and
go that
6
far.
the rest of the way.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I mean, think about it. Are they a 500 team? I think they're about a 500 team. So
Yeah,
6 and 6 is completely reasonable, and 4 and 0 with the NFC East, that's completely reasonable too, because the NFC East is a house of horrors. It's Halloween every day in the NFC East.
yeah, yeah. The NFC East is the best worst division.
They are the worst of the worst divisions. I mean, it's awful. It's absolutely awful.
What was awful last night between the Eagles and the Cowboys was that freaking call that wasn't overturned what's his name? Whatever that fucking fourth stringer quarterback the Cowboys have fumbles.
DiNucci,
Yeah, whatever.
that poor kid. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, he looked like he was really trying, but I mean, he's just not that fucking good.
Well, there's a reason why he was the third string quarterback, and I don't even know if he was drafted or not. But
I
he looked
couldn't
like he
tell
was.
who the third. I couldn't tell who the third string quarterback was, him or Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, as good as he has been at times, there are times where he looks like a rookie quarterback. I mean, he looks. Some of his decision making, I don't understand. I mean, you're out of the pocket. You've got a guy bearing down on you. Throw the football away, and
Yeah.
don't take a 12-yard sack. But yet he does it, and he does it consistently. Like, I mean, he does it more than once a game. I really don't understand what's happened with that guy. I don't know if he does not trust his mobility since he got injured a few years ago, or if I don't get it. It's very confusing.
Yeah, with Wentz, I mean, I think it's a lot of factors. I think number one is they don't have a good offensive line. Like I think the Eagles have given up like the most sacks in the league. He's got no real go-to wide receivers. And then the other thing is, I've heard he's taken painkillers. He's had injury issues.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be like some of it is decision making, like you said, throwing the ball away, and then it might be that he's just not comfortable playing quarterback out of fear of getting hurt again. You know what I mean?
That's kind of a problem. That's kind of a problem when you line up behind the center and take the snap on every play, though.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's a little bit of everything, I think, with Carson Wentz, which is a shame because think about it. He was on his way to win an MVP that season in 2017, and then season-ending surgery, and then the backup comes in, wins the Super Bowl helps win the Super Bowl for the team, and you're kind of an afterthought at that point.
Yeah.
So it kind of, a little bit is between the ears, I think, with Carson
It might
Wentz.
be. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. That might very well be the case. Hey, since we're on the NFC, you only have one contender in the AFC. Who are your contenders in the NFC?
I think at the top, it's got to be the Seahawks. I think it's got to be the Seahawks at this point. I mean, Russell Wilson is playing out of his mind, and he's got a lot of options at receivers. I like the Packers too. I like the Packers too, even though they lost yesterday to the Vikings. But that's one team right there that should trade for J.J. Watt. That'd be such a perfect addition for the Packers.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it would benefit both the Texans and the Packers.
Yeah, the Seahawks look great, and I certainly think that they're a contender. My only fear with them is that division is that division is tough, and they're gonna knock each other around in a 15-round prize fight every single week. By the time they get to the playoffs, they may be out of gas. And I mean, the same thing would hold for Arizona, Los Angeles, the Rams, and the Niners. I mean, the Niners are 4-4 in their last. So that division has the exact opposite of the NFC East, right? They
Well,
could have a
and the
whole bunch of
Buccaneers. I
teams.
think you got to throw the Buccaneers in there too. I mean,
Yeah,
they got a pretty good fucking offense, and their defense is best in the league. So
yeah. I'm
definitely got
not
to
as
throw them in
sold
the
on the
hat.
Packers. I think the real challenge in the NFC is going to be who comes out of the South, because I still think the Saints can be really good. If they're a team that if they get hot, especially towards the end of the season, they could really put it on some teams. And the Buccaneers, like you mentioned, are really good as well. We'll see how they do tonight against the Giants. I mean, I expect them to win, but stranger
Yeah,
things have happened
yeah. I mean, the Bucks should win that game.
easily.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. But
What
yeah, I mean, the Saints. You know, the Saints are. They're 5-2, and they've been playing without Michael Thomas the whole time.
That's what I'm talking about. If he
And they
comes
just
back,
picked up a linebacker.
if he comes back, that offense all of a sudden really now that offense has vertical problems that other teams have to account for, and that's why I think they could really get on a roll.
Yeah, yeah.
They're the kind
Uh,
of team. They're the kind of team that even if they're facing another good offensive team, the fact that they can score on every possession puts so much pressure on the other offensive team that it makes their defense actually look a little bit better, right? So
right.
we'll see, but I think they're for real. Then you've got the Bears. The Bears are 5-3, and their point differential is -3. So the Bears, I think, are the flip side of the Chargers, right? A team that has a good record. You think you're going to get a game that they're going to win, but they're not that good. And Nick Foles looks pretty bad at times. I wonder if that team can hold on to get a wild card spot. It's going to be tough because you're going to get two out of the South probably in New Orleans and Tampa Bay, and it's hard to imagine that you won't get two, if not three, out of the West.
Yeah, you know, I saw the 49ers as a team that could sneak in there, but I think they have way too many injuries.
Oh,
Jimmy G went down again. Kittle left the game yesterday, so I'm gonna backtrack, and I don't know that the 49ers are gonna sneak in there. I thought they would sneak in. I don't see them sneaking in, which that will open the door. I'm guessing right now for the Bears to maybe get that, play for those last two wild card spots.
right. Yeah.
Because I mean, after that, who do you got? The Lions, you got the Panthers, who could maybe do something. I mean, then you got Washington, Minnesota. Minnesota still has a team that can go out there and score, but I don't know. At 2-5, it's going to be tough now.
It's a tough road for them, but out of all the teams, if there's a team that can get on a run and maybe even make the playoffs, I think the Vikings are it. At 2-5, it certainly seems far away, and their performance at times tells you that there's no way. But they're a better football team than that 2-5. They're the best 2-5 team in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, their schedule is pretty favorable, I would say. They got the Lions, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Panthers, the Jaguars, then the Buccaneers, then the Bears again, the Saints, and the Lions. So things could align for them here in the second half of the season to
Yeah.
maybe, get 5 wins, and maybe in the NFC, seven wins might get you in.
Well, they've got 9 games left, right? Because they're 2-5. They can go 6-3. You're looking at 8-8. That might be enough to do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough with the way the West is, but again, the West is the West is tough, man. Those teams just beat up on each other. It could be a real problem for them coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the Rams yesterday had a really bad loss. Like they outgained the Dolphins and everything, but the Dolphins defense came to play. So now that kind of makes you wonder about the Rams a little bit, you know, like
the Rams to me have been the toughest team to figure out all year because they have games where they look complete. Their defense is on point, the offense is moving the ball. And then they have games where more so on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side of the ball. But sometimes offensively they struggle to move the ball. And I don't know if that's a Jared Goff issue or if that's just a personnel issue. The line isn't great, and so the running game isn't really there. And that makes it hard for Goff.
Look, the Rams are another team. Cowboys, Eagles, they lost to the Bills, beat the Giants, beat the Washington team, lost to the 49ers, beat the Bears, lost to the Dolphins. I mean, see that it's just not really, you know, and I know this is not college football, but those are just not quality wins. You know what I mean? Those are just wins, you know, that are a given. I mean, you can't beat the Bills, you can't beat the Dolphins. Now you got now it's going to get really tough for them because now they play the Seahawks, the Bucks, the 49ers again, and the Cardinals. So
that's their next four.
Those are going to be really. Huh?
That's their next four.
That's their next four.
Whew. That is a rough stretch.
Yeah, because now, you know, you got to play within the division, and then you got to play the Buccaneers, who are going to, you know, probably tire you out a little bit.
Right.
So the wheels could fall off the Rams bus.
That's probably a tenuous 5-3 right now. For them to make it to 10 might be tough. If half of your schedule is those four teams back to back weeks, that's a tough road to hoe.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, so now when we look at it like that, we're kind of like, okay, well, damn, the Seahawks might just run away with this division, maybe. And
well, you still got Arizona.
They'll keep playing competitive football, I think. But that could be another team that could sneak in there, maybe again, right? Because I think the 49ers might fall back and the Rams might have a slip up here. It could open a door for a team like the Cardinals. You're right.
Right. And it could, that kind of with the Niners having injuries and that tough stretch for the Rams, it could really open something up for a team like the Vikings.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be the NFC looks like it's going to be pretty interesting, with the exception of the NFC East, because the NFC East is a house of horrors again. The NFC should be pretty interesting the rest of the way.
It's funny how the NFC is always interesting, or more interesting than the AFC, but not because the teams are good. It's because the teams are just mediocre, and we're waiting for the teams to just play like themselves, right? Not as good. Whereas in the AFC, you have a little more, teams that are a little more solid, well-rounded, right? Like, they're good, right? We see it year in and year out, right? Where, the contenders, or, the teams that are primed to make it far are the same.
There seems to be, in the AFC, a bigger disparity between the haves and the have-nots, right? Whereas in the NFC, everyone's a little more compressed, it feels like. So if you were to rank them 1 to 16 in the AFC, at some point there's a big drop-off. Whereas in the NFC, the big drop-off doesn't happen until you get to the NFC East.
Yeah, exactly.
If you rank the top 12 teams from both conferences, the top 12 in the NFC are much more compressed than the top 12 in the AFC. At some point in the AFC, it just all goes to hell in a handbasket.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting stuff.
And that's been the landscape of the NFL, it seems, for a few years now.
For a while, yeah. I agree. It's interesting. The one interesting thing to me is go look at point differentials. And if you look at point differentials, it really kind of shakes your confidence, right? In some teams, like the Bills at 6-2 are -1,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's part of what shakes your confidence in the Bills. They're not really beating the teams that they should beat by a considerable margin, and then they're losing games where they're getting smoked. Um, the Browns are 5-3, point differential -31. That's a lot, you
Yeah,
know.
but see, but you got to be careful when you look at that sometimes, because a team like the Bills, they're not a high-powered offense like the Chiefs are, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
play really good defense. The Browns are not a high-powered offense, and they give up a lot of points, you know? So
Yeah,
I think that's
but I think at the end of the day, it's, when you're looking at 2, 3, 4 weeks into the season, I agree with you. But when you're looking at 8 games, I think that starts to tell you that there's some kind of imbalance there where they've made their way through some tight games that they may not get in the second half of the season. Is my point, right? So the
right.
Bills are winning close games. As the season goes on, they may not win those close games, and now you're 6-2 is backed up with a 4-4, and you're looking at a team that's really a shaky 10-6 overall. I think that's the concern. Same thing in the NFC when you look at the Bears at 5-3. Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder a little bit. Their point differential is -5, and all season we've expressed a lack of confidence in the Bears. So it kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen in the second half. Things to look
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
You got anything else on the NFL?
No, man, just no. Just gonna get
Did
ready for
you
the game tonight.
did you happen to catch the ending sequence of the Gervonta Davis Leo Santa Cruz boxing fight this weekend?
No, no, no.
So
I just saw I saw the punch, but I didn't
yeah,
see.
well that's my point. That Gervonta Davis, his nickname is Tank, and it looked like he absolutely blew a cannonball with that uppercut at Santa Cruz. I thought he took his head off.
Yeah,
It
that
looked
was
like a cartoon.
that certainly looked Mike Tyson-esque to me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, what a shot! And that guy, I think that guy would be really good. He needs to stay focused. He's got a lot of issues outside the ring, but if he stays focused, he's going to be a problem for everyone. And I mean, that shot was, I mean, unreal. If you heard it, and if you like, if they took away the sound of the announcers and you just heard it, I mean, you could hear the thud. It was unreal. Unreal. That's one of the really eerie things about these fights, UFC and boxing with no fans. Sometimes when you hear those shots, wow,
Yeah,
tough way to make a living.
yeah. Count me out. I couldn't do it unless you're paying me a good amount of money.
I don't know, man. I don't know that I'd scramble the brains for $1 million, $2 million.
Yeah.
Once you pay
Well,
taxes and stuff, you don't have that. Once you pay taxes and your management, you don't have that much left. And the brain, you kind of need you need the CPU in there working for a good long time. I don't know that I would do it.
yeah. And then you got these fucked up looking ears. Screw that.
These guys are getting knocked out to the point that they're drooling on themselves, and you're worried about cauliflower ear.
Yeah, I like my ears, bro. Look, these are perfect ears right here.
What is I mean, have you ever looked at a chick and gone, "Oh, look at that. She's got perfect ears."
You know, this is where us men get screwed again. I don't remember coming across a female with ugly ears. Like they're usually like perfect and small, like perfect size ear that like they're not too big, right? That they don't stick out like this. Although if we may remember one that had the satellite ears. She's probably listening right now. But exactly. But I don't come across a lot of female that I notice with like ugly looking ears, like
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I've never looked at a chick and gone, nice ears. Maybe I just don't pay attention. I don't know.
I would like to slobber all over those ears, baby.
Oh, if I could run my tongue along those earlobes. However many listeners we have, they are now gone. We have no listeners now.
Your ears are so perfect, I would suck the earwax out of them.
Oh. All right. That's where we got to go.
Ugh.
Ugh.
What
All
else
right,
you got?
man. You got anything else?
Nah, man, that's it. Let's wrap this puppy up.
All righty. As always, if you want to get a hold of us, you can email the show, positivesports10@gmail.com, positivesports10@gmail.com. If you want to share your ear fetishes with Alex, how do they do that?
On Twitter at Brooklyn Gaucho 1.
Don't send me any of your ear fetishes, but you can reach me to talk sports on Twitter as well at eMontana21. Tomorrow is election day. Go out and vote. Don't vote. Vote for this guy. Vote for that guy. Don't care. We are all Americans. We are all one. And as always, folks, ignore the negativity. Be the positivity.
Peace.